So, hello, I'm Lolo the Dodo, and today's video is gonna be something. Quick backstory. I was with some other people shit talking on a Discord channel. We got to yaoi, and how fucked up some of the yaoi was that was popular, and still is popular. And so I decided to make a video because people wanted to see. So this is for you, Neptune, Goose, Medley, and all the others who were in the shit-talking conversation with me. So a few points before getting started. I don't remember most yaoi I read. I had my yaoi phase when I was like 15. I'm now a 20-something. Memory. So these are the yaois that I could find easily, and I remember reading them and what I had more to say about, because I can remember sometimes that I read something and then it's just a generic yaoi, nothing to say much about. I also will be scoring these out of 10 because even though the yaoi might be fucked up, it might still be a good read. I also want to point out that Japan has different age of consent laws, and as a Dutch person, my laws are different. I only recently learned that it's technically 15 and not 18, but that's beside the point. Also, please don't mind my pronunciation of the titles. Some of them are in English and I can say those just fine, but some of them are only in Japanese and I'm just learning Japanese, so I will mispronounce a good amount of it. So the first yaoi I'm gonna talk about is the first yaoi I ever read. I remember it clearly. I wanted to say fondly, but no, it's not fondly. The yaoi is Okane Kanai. By the way, the website that I use to look up all the yaois again, it has warnings for like troubling content. This one has it. Like, I was a little 15-year-old reading my first yaoi and I didn't know what I was getting into. It's a story about Ayase, who is in debt thanks to his cousin and can't pay it back, so he's sold off, as in he's sold for slavery, is bought by Kanu and is forced to have sex with him to buy his freedom back. Yeah, this whole yaoi sums up the problem with yaoi that has with consent and romanticization of the lack of consent, because this whole yaoi doesn't have it. Also, this yaoi has suffered from the yaoi art style. I didn't really notice back then, but what I did notice was that Ayase was always dressed in like angel/religious clothing. It was way too big for him for some reason. It had a lot of fabric creases. I think that's what the author's favorite thing to draw was, to be honest. I also noticed, I just started to realize it, there are very few women, like almost all characters are male. When the story goes to a cross-dressing bar, I think it's a cross-dressing bar, basically all the employees there are either cross-dressers or trans women. So those are the only women in this whole story. And I mean, it's kind of representation, but sadly they're often made the butt of the joke, if my memory serves correctly. So anyway, I'm gonna give this yaoi 1 out of 10 people dressed as angels. It's honestly not that good, and I think even the author told, like in interviews, that they're not proud of it anymore. It was one of their first works. Okay, the next yaoi is Junjo Romantica, and I surprisingly remember that name well from when I read it. This yaoi has 3 couples. The first couple is Misaki and Isami, and it's like the main couple. This ties all the stories together, and this one has problems. Like, if I remember correctly, Misaki needs to go to Izumi to tutor him to do entrance exams for the university he wants to attend. And Yeah, this couple has consent problems, and I'm pretty sure you know what the first time was, because that was like the whole trend in when this was made. And it is a prime example of Stockholm syndrome. Like, almost all yaoi have this problem. They say about 27% of the world population has the genetics to develop Stockholm syndrome, and yaoi just is a big portion of those people. But like this, at least they're both adults. It's something that's good. Like the second story in this yaoi is great. Two adults, they meet, they understand. Like it's a decent relationship. They communicate, and they don't have consent problems, which like, and it's wholesome. That one is wholesome, but it's not worth reading this yaoi purely for that one. And the third one is even more problematic than the first. I don't know how they did it. It's, I think, a high schooler. It might even be a middle schooler. I don't remember correctly. It was a child and a 30-something guy. And they made a child a predator for some reason. I don't know. I give this yaoi a 3 out of 10 just for the second pair. The rest is not that good. So the third yaoi is Finder. And remember how I said by the first yaoi there was like this warning? This one doesn't have it, even though I'm pretty sure it could fall under it. Because Finder is about a crime photographer and a mafia boss. I would say falling in love, but Stockholm syndrome again, I think. Like, this yaoi has a lot of consent problems. But I think it might work because they're already in the illegal world, so, you know, you might as well do all the crimes if you're already gonna commit most of them. The story does handle it better. Like, it's not romanticizing, it's actually showing that they don't like it, that they're being forced to do stuff they don't want to. So I give it points for that. And goddamn, the seme in this story is my ideal husbando if it wasn't for him being a leader of like mafia and shit. So I give it a 6 out of 10 mafia daddies. It's a good read in the end. And the next yaoi number 4, is the second yaoi with this warning. And yeah, this one also needs, because I read it. I mostly read this one because I like the artwork, like the front page. And oh my god. So, warning, this one has the Omega-verse storyline. I personally don't really like those, but this one was decent. This one is Sayonara Koibito Matekite Tomodachi. And this one, oh boy. So, the Omega guy, who can get pregnant, spoiler alert by the way, got pregnant by his brother, so incest Winsett, as a child. Like, I'm pretty sure they didn't reach age 10 yet. And it's an abortion. Like, that's a story thing, and this whole story, like the whole storyline, is about people wanting to R him, and in the end he goes with the guy that doesn't want to do it without consent. So I guess that's the only positive message in this one, but god, this is a train wreck, to be honest. But anyway, I give this 50 Shades of Fucked Up out of 10. After whatever that was, let's do something lighter. Katekyo. It's not that impressive. I always forget what it was, but I remembered sort of. Like, the only real problem I see in this yaoi is that this has a power dynamic that isn't really working. It's a tutor and a student. So he has a bit of power over them, but it's not as bad. So I give it 5 out of 10 hot tutors. Like, it's just your average yaoi. Next one, yaoi number 6, and bear with me, I'm too dyslexic for this, and this is a long ass title. Futari no Musuko ni nerawarete imasu. So I personally really like family stories. I like reading about families and stuff like that. This one is indeed about family, but not in the way it's supposed to be. Basic story, we have Mr. Daddy, who's actually an uncle, but an unrelated uncle, like stepmother's brother. Their parents died, and so uncle raises them. And now that they're adults, they fell in love with him, and so it's incest, wincest, it's also twincest, and there are threesomes. Like, what more do you want? Probably eye bleach, because goddamn, this is not what it's supposed to be love your family. But anyway, I give it 7 out of 10 hot wins. Next yaoi number 7, Kami-sama Darling. And this one has some other losses, right? Besides that, it isn't really good consent. The god made the uke his wife because the kid signed a contract when he was like a child, like 5 years old. And I'm pretty sure that's illegal. Children can't sign contracts at that age. Also, it implies that God was like, this child would make a great wife, which opens a whole bunch of other problems. So the art style in this one is actually pretty decent. I pretty like it, like especially the hair, how they did that. So 6 out of 10 Bakakamis, because goddamn, those bitches are also really stupid. Another one with family values. Woo! Super Lovers. This one, I have problems classifying it as a yaoi, I think, because there aren't that many explicit scenes. If they edited a tiny bit, they probably could get away with calling it a shonenai. But this one has a pretty bad age difference, more than a decade. This guy meets this kid when he is like 6 or 8 and starts living with him when he's 12. So that's fun. To be honest, this would make a decent story if it wasn't for, the loving pair being 2 brothers. Like, if you take out the yaoi and just keep the story, I think this could be a pretty decent manga. And that's also a problem I have with this yaoi. There's way too much plot for it to be a good yaoi. There needs to be more fun time. But anyway, I give it 5 out of 10 wolves, because wolves. So next yaoi on the list is Love Stage. And this yaoi, I've read the beginning multiple times, but I only read it completely through once, because I'm awful at dealing with secondhand embarrassment. So, no. But anyway, this one has consent problems as well, but after a while it has decent relationship dynamics. Like, it explores that a lot for like a new couple of both people having no experience with other men. So it's okay-ish in that part. In my opinion, the story never really resolved. It's pretty abrupt ending. But that's just me. I can continue reading it probably once you get past the second embarrassment. Also, this one has an anime that I know of. And they censored it. Like, it's pretty funny in my opinion. But one complaint about the art style. Their neck hairs are really weird. And I don't know why. And that's why I give it a 6 out of 10 neck hairs. Like, why is it drawn like that? In yaoi number 10, I made the 10 count because 10. Anyway, questionable consent. I think this yaoi is a pretty interesting premise. Like, I really like it that it explores also mental problems. It's really interesting. But because of that, I do question sometimes the consent in there. It's a really good story. I would recommend you read it. I have some physical copies actually of this one. I really like the characters as well. They're portrayed really realistically. It's just that it's iffy on consent, but that doesn't really stop it from being a good yaoi. So I give it 8 out of 10 germs. You will know why when you start reading it. So now we get into the territory of decent yaois. Like the few before this were also like, but now we get into yaoi that's like, I would reread again if I feel like it. So Gutato Kodama, it's a pretty wholesome story of the first love between high schoolers. And that's the only problem actually with this story. It's like about their high school life. I think they start as first years and end up as adults, like the last few chapters are their adult lives. So if you can look past their ages, it's honestly a really cute story. And I pretty much like it. It gets 7 out of 10 alls. Like, oh, so cute. So from going from something pretty wholesome to questionable wholesomeness, this is encirclement love. It, as you can see, it has 4 dudes. They're 2 pairs, like they're 3 friends, and 2 of them started dating without the other knowledge, and so he tries to catch them in the act, and then discovers that one of their 2's little brother is in love with him. And it's pretty cute, actually. It is pretty decent. It has far more ranchy scenes than the previous one. It's really fun to read if you are into shit shows, honestly. It's a train wreck all the way through, and I love it. So I will warn you, this is again of high schoolers and maybe a middle schooler. I'm not totally sure about the little brother's age anymore. But I give this 7 out of 10 surprisingly big dicks, and if you want to know what that's a reference to, please read it. It's a really fun plot point in that yaoi. It's also pretty short, so you don't waste too much time on it. So for the next yaoi number 13, lucky number 13, it's Yasashi Pantsuno Nugase Kata. Please just make the title shorter or give me an English title. I can't read that well. This one is honestly pretty fun. Like, it's only 6 chapters and it's really funky. I really like the dynamic between the 2 lovers. It has consent, which is good. It has pantsus, which is also pretty good. It does, again, involve high schoolers. So, again, the age thing, but these are both high schoolers and has no adults or teachers. They're the same age, so... Anyways, this yaoi gets 6.5 out of 10 panties. Don't ask how you get the other half panty. I'm not gonna tell you. It's probably a bra. So now, we get probably through my top 3 yaois. And this first one is probably gonna show some bad sides of me. It's Fudashi-kun no Holidays. I kind of like this one. It has a really cute art style. It's different. It's much more rounder than the usual board, like straight, like edgy style is usually for men. And it has a bi dude, like not a straight dude that only dated women and then for the main character fell in love with the dude, but actually a dude that dated male and men and women before, which I really like. This one has consent, at least for the first couple. The second couple is a student teacher, but the age gap isn't that big if I remember correctly, because the 2 ukes are brothers 2 years apart, and the 2 semeis are senpai and kohai, so also like 3 years apart at max. So it's decent, I guess. It's doable in my opinion. But the scene where my friends really got mad at me for telling them this yaoi had, since the semeis are kohai and senpai, they know each other, and Then they learned that they're dating brothers from each other, and for one thing led to the other, and they're in a hotel room fucking with the four of them. And brothers come in each other's veins. It's fun. Good art, 9 of 10, incest wincest. As for yaoi number 15, this one is pure wholesomeness, and I love it. It's got Motoyan Papato Hitsuji Sensei, and like I said, I really like family dynamics, and this one is just plain adorable. And it's just single dad trying to raise his son and he's terrible at it. And he meets his childhood friend, who's now his son's teacher. And they start reconnecting and falling in love. And I really like this yaoi. It shows the gay struggle. The teacher was openly gay and is traumatized because people find that disgusting, and it's a horrible thing, but I really like how they portrayed it in the story, because it is true that people are seen that way. So it's just so realistic, and it's wholesome. It does lack a bit of the fun scenes, but it makes up with that wholesomeness. So I give it 10 out of 10 wholesomeness. Read this one. This is a really good one. And number 16, this one is also not problematic. In the end, most of them are not that bad. I remember the good yaois apparently, but this one I really like. I think it also has a sequel where it follows a side character and their gay relationship, but I don't remember the name of it. However, this yaoi XXX Allergy is really fun. It has completely normal consent between adults. It has beautiful drama, a really good art style, fun characters, and bunnies. My favorite scene in this one is when they are kissing and getting it on in the shop where they sell bunnies. And one is just like, can we please move to the bedroom? It's like, why? And it's like, I can't stand them looking at me. It's just a whole room of bunnies looking at them, and it's like, amazing. So anyway, for the score, I give it 10 out of 10 bunnies, because of course. Also, they fuck like bunnies in this yaoi. Tee. Well, in the end, I didn't end up shit talking yaoi too much. I'm sorry, people, I get distracted easily. I am a scroll in brain only. However, it was really fun looking all this shit up again and being like, oh god, this is probably why I have my taste in men. My friends tell me I have daddy issue taste in men, but don't worry, me and my father have a good relationship. Anyway, I hope you guys liked it, because you're not getting much better than this.